Kris Rowley is a digital informational security specialist. He was the Chief Informational Security Officer for the State of Vermont for 7 years before joining Norwich's facility as a full-time professor. Kris has taught information security full-time for the past 3 years at Norwich University. Kris holds 2 undergraduate degrees from Norwich University, a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in management, and a Bachelor of Science in Computer Information System. Kris earned his Master's of Science in Information Assurance from Norwich University in 2006, and today he is going to be talking about risk management, protecting your company. Well, thank you, Kris, for joining us. And
thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys inviting me to join you today, and I hope that what I have to offer is useful to you. So I'm going to be focusing on, well, let me just do a little introduction beyond what Christine said, and thank you very much for that very nice introduction. I have been working at Norwich University. I've actually been teaching. I just finished my 5th year full-time teaching. And I teach information assurance, not insurance, but assurance, and risk management. As Christine said, I was the Chief Information Security Officer for the State of Vermont for 7 years prior to coming to Norwich. And that certainly was an experience in and of itself. So I have a lot of experience with risk and managing risk. I am not a high-tech person. I understand technology. I have learned technology. I can program. I can do all of those things. I just choose not to. That's not my forte. I'm just going to move to the next part here. I'm going to be talking about what is risk management, how you manage risk, and because in your field of credit unions, banking, all of that, you are right in the center of the bullseye of hacker targets. And the good news is banking in general has done such a good job at protecting itself and upping the difficulty for a hacker to access them that hackers have started looking elsewhere, which is good. That's excellent for you guys. But still, there is a great degree of risk associated with what you do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about managing risk, some attacks. I'm not going to get heavy into that. My colleague, George Silawash, who spoke to you before, I listened to his talk, and he got heavily into a lot of the attacks, the hack types, different ways that hackers come at companies. So I am not going to repeat that. I'm going to take this from a different approach. This is more the people-focused and what can you do kind of thing. So that's managing risk. I am going to mention a couple of the attacks because they are still there and you need to be watching out for them. And then what can you do? How do you protect yourselves? So I'm going to do exactly what I tell my students not to do. And I have a PowerPoint screen that's full of text. I have passed my deck on to Christine, and if anybody wants to look at this in detail, you're more than welcome to. So I just put a bunch of stuff up there that if at your leisure, if you choose to, you can read it all. I'm not going to read it all to you. You are perfectly capable of reading. But a couple of the things on here that I really wanted to look at is risk management is looking at how do you build your cyber resilience. Now we're talking cyber, it's the same as risk. If you look at the 3rd bullet point, it says cybersecurity risk management. All it is looking at your risks, your vulnerabilities, and then applying that to an online environment, okay? So a lot of cyber is one of those niche words that everybody likes to use. It's a sexy term. All it is it's taking what is in the physical world and transferring it over into a digital world. That's really all it is. It's like when I'm teaching and things, I say to my students, so much of what you hear and the terminology that you hear sounds all sort of esoteric and, ooh, it's all out there in cyberspace and all this other stuff. Cyberspace is not really a place, okay? Viruses, worms, Trojans, oh my, are not they are not what you think they are. It is just somebody sat at a keyboard and typed code. You know, it's like, I'm not going to try to ruin Santa Claus for you or the Easter Bunny or any of those other beings. If you choose to believe in them and the way that they are, that is great. But when it comes to cyber stuff, it's all reality. It comes down to the real world. And you as people and an institution need to keep that in mind, okay? It is a person on the other end somewhere. It is not some, you know, oogly boogly being someplace in cyberspace doing things to you, all right? It is a real criminal on the other end of the keyboard, all right? So don't forget that. And when you're managing risk, you are looking at your vulnerabilities. You are looking at where your greatest risks are and how can you protect them, okay? So managing risks, you need to look at, there's a book called The Art of War. It's written by an author named Sun Tzu 3,000 years ago. He was a great Chinese military man, and a lot of his writings have been brought forward into the cyber world only because it then fully applies to now. And part of what he says is you need to know your enemy and know yourself, okay? If you know both of those things, you're all set. You can manage any kind of a cyber attack that comes your way. But if you don't know one or the other, it makes it a higher risk. If you don't know both, you're going to lose, okay? So it is critically important that you know your weaknesses, the organization's operations and how things are done. You need to know how does your organization process data. Everything you do comes down to protecting the data, all right? If you don't protect your customers' data, if you don't protect your business's data, you are going to go out of business, you're going to get sued, you're going to have all kinds of issues. You don't want that to happen. So you need to protect the data. So how do you process your information? Where is it stored? How is it transmitted? Are you making sure that things are encrypted when they should be? Now, a lot of this stuff your IT department takes care of. You as an employee of the organization, if you're not in IT, you probably don't have an intimate access to that kind of information. But you should have sort of a superficial idea of how things are being done and how your data is being stored and how it's being transmitted, okay? And then you need to know what resources are available to you, okay? I'm gonna touch on this again later, but one of the greatest assets that any organization has are people, okay? When something goes wrong, there are, you know, eyes, hands, and ears everywhere. So people are going to be the first ones that report that something's wrong, okay? Because they're going to be the first ones to see it. They may see it before the systems register it. So that's great. But you have to know what's wrong. So you have to know what looks right in the first place, okay? Also, if you see something being done in your organization and you go, I don't know, that looks really risky. Like, you know, I don't know, I am not relating this to the credit unions at all. I don't know how you work, how your systems work or how you process or anything else. But I was doing some work for a company, and one of the things that they did was every night they downloaded some critical information to flash drives, the little thumb drives, downloaded information, and then a person took that thumb drive, walked it over to another area, and put it in a safe. Well, I watched one evening as they were closing up, and the person downloaded all the data onto this particular thumb drive, walked across the floor, and I intentionally stopped them, and I started asking them some questions about something totally different. And I said, would you mind showing me what the paperwork looks like for whatever this process was? I was totally making it up, you know? And they said, oh, sure, I have no problem with that. They put the thumb drive down, they went over, they got the paper, they came back, they showed me the stuff. I asked them a few more questions. I put the paper down over the thumb drive. And I said, you know, really, thank you so much. I said, oh my goodness, look at the time, it's getting late. You probably need to get home. And they were like, oh yeah, I do. Thanks a lot, it was great seeing you. And they walked out. Where was the thumb drive? It was under the papers, okay? Out where anybody, me, could have taken it. okay? If you see a process, anything, I'm not saying that particular thing, but anything that is like, looks like it could be putting data at risk, speak up, say something, okay? The process may not change, but at least you know you said something about it and you put that risk out there. You said, here's a vulnerability, I'm telling you about it. There's no harm done doing that, okay? So know how, you know, what risks are. All right, why are risks increasing for your data? Well, as we all are acutely aware, things are not the way they used to be. They're not the way they were a year ago. They're not the way they were 8 months ago. With a pandemic lockdown, many things have changed. There are a whole lot of reasons. I just put a bunch of stuff up here. I have climate change down there, and I had one of my colleagues that I had look at my slide deck before I handed this over was like, climate change, what's that have to do with anything? That's a lot to do with things. Huge storms. We have storms like we've never had before. I don't know how many of you may have been around when Hurricane Irene came blowing through the state of Vermont. I was here. I was the Chief Information Security Officer for the state of Vermont, and I was dealing with the disaster in Waterbury when the state's data centers were totally flooded out, and we had nothing left. We don't have storms like that normally, but we're getting more and more of them. So climate change is causing a problem. Political upheaval, pandemics, murder hornets, unstable economies, fear, uncertainty, mistrust, all of those things start to feed into people getting sloppy, people using online technologies more and more, and they don't know what they're doing. There's more online shopping, there's more online payment, there's more online everything. Well, I can tell you right now, hackers are having a party. They are like, woohoo, we couldn't have asked for anything better than this, okay? And well, let me see what my next slide is. All right, here you go. This is what is a result of using all of that online, or the increase of all of that online activity. Cyber attacks are up 37% over the last few months, all right? We have people being isolated. So they're online, they're looking at kitty videos and, you know, puppies, and they're posting stuff, and they're on Etsy and whatever else there is out there. And they're tweeting and they're twiddling and doing whatever. And all of that opens up risk. When you're on Facebook or Twitter, I don't know what's on all of this stuff, but, you know, they have all the quizzes. Take this quiz and find out, you know, what your color is. You know, that is all methods that hackers use to find out stuff about you. It may be just a way of accessing your network, okay? It doesn't mean that they're actually asking you for anything. They may not be, but they can get your IP address by just looking at the activity if you are on their site, and 9 times out of 10 you probably are, okay? They're making this stuff up so that you go play because you're bored, okay? Online education. I teach, and this semester, well, since March, we were online. We had students all over the world. We have them using all kinds of systems. We have, you know, foreign students who are just panicking and trying to get online to get their classes done. We don't know what kind of security they have or don't have. We don't even know what systems they may be running over, okay? So that is increasing the risk. Web surfing, a surge in online shopping. I saw an ad on Facebook a few weeks ago, and it was an LL Bean ad, and it said something about you could, I don't know, huge massive sale, 80% off all of this stuff. I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna look at that. Well, I looked, and as soon as I looked, I mean, I didn't do anything that was compromising myself. I went and I looked, and I was like, oh, no, this is not LL Bean, okay? And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to tell if it is a true link or not, okay? So I never clicked the link, all right? But be careful with stuff like that because they're doing that kind of stuff too, is they put stuff out there. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Don't click the link. I tell my students this, it's my mantra at school. Everybody laughs at me. They make jokes about it. I'll be in a meeting and someone will go, well, you know, as Kris says, don't click the link. I'm telling you, don't click the links. If you want to go somewhere, you take yourself there. Don't click the links, all right? If you take nothing away from this whole talk, don't click the links. So there's also an increase in social media use and virtual meetings. Zoom, which we're on right now, has had a number of vulnerabilities identified. They keep trying to fix it, but you know, hackers are nasty little beasties and they have all the time in the world to find the weaknesses, okay? So just be careful with stuff. But as a result of all of this, phishing attempts, I don't know if George talked about phishing, but phishing, and it's spelled correctly, it is a PH, not an F. Phishing is when hackers try to get you to click on a link. They try to get you to respond to an email. All right, they're phishing around, they're looking for stuff, okay? It's just sort of what it sounds like. But these attempts have gone up over 600% since the end of February. You are going to get these things not only in your personal life, but also at work, okay? Banks are big targets, huge targets, and hackers will try. They won't stop. It's like they've got nothing to lose, okay? Because the chances of you catching them are slim. So they're gonna go after you and they're gonna keep trying. So just be aware. All right, like I said, these phishing attempts have soared over 600% since February. There are some attacks that are still out there. George discussed most of these with you. Ransomware and malware is still the most common, okay? Ransomware, again, is they encrypt your data, okay? Which means you can't read it, all right? And then if you want to get the code or the key to open up your data so you can see it again, you have to pay a price. And they will tell you what the price is. And usually you pay it, then they go, nah, just kidding, I want some more money. And you pay some more and they're like, oh, one more time, come on, just give me a little bit more. And you do, and then they go, oh, you know, pinky swear, one more and I'll give it to you, I promise. These guys are bad guys. Do you really think their word is worth anything? It is not. Okay, the best way to protect yourself personally and in business, and your IT people will take care of this, but in business as well, is to back up your data. You need to keep a backup. On my personal machines here at home, I have a terabyte hard drive, external hard drive, okay? And every 2 days, because I don't have enough stuff that I feel I need to do it every day, but every 2 days, I back up my entire system to my hard drive, my external hard drive. Now, if someone comes in and says, ha, I've encrypted everything, I can say, ha, I don't care. I can go in, I can clean my hard drive, or for those of you who don't know how to do that, you can go out and buy a new one. They're 50 bucks, okay? Go get a new hard drive, pop it in, and then upload all of your files onto your new hard drive. Boom, there you go, you're ready to go. And you've only lost as much data as you have created since the last time you updated, okay? That's the best way to do it. And if you are not tech savvy at all, you can take your machine into, I don't know, any of the computer places with your external hard drive and say, I want you to wipe this and please upload my files. Done, easy peasy. And you don't have to pay anybody anything, okay? So just be careful of that. Again, phishing is a big one. Spoofing of website addresses. I'm going to show you some examples of that in a little bit, so I'm not going to get into that right now in detail. But you have to watch people pretending, like I said, that LL Bean site. It wasn't LL Bean, okay? So be careful of that. One other thing, I'm just going to go back here for a second under common attacks. Another thing that's happening more and more, and it's not It's not an online phishing attack. It's a or spoofing. It's a telephone attack. Okay, be careful in your company, your business, because hackers are really, really good, and they will call you up and they will say that they are from something that has to do with your company. They do research. It's not like they just jump into this stuff blind, okay? They do their homework. And if the payoff's big enough, they do their homework really well. And they're patient, okay? You may hear from them 3, 4, 5 times because what they're doing is they're building up your trust, okay? Watch this. Make sure that who you are speaking to really is who you think you're speaking to. Do your homework, do your research and due diligence. Don't just give out information, okay? There was a hack that happened with a couple of towns here in the state of Vermont where somebody called them up and said, hi, I'm from so-and-so's office. It was a state office. I'm from so-and-so's office and we're running these reports and we need to have the files for all of your taxpayers for this past year. Could you please send them to us? And the person was like, at first was hesitant. But then the person called back and another person called back that worked with this person and said, hi, I'm so-and-so from this office. My colleague called you yesterday and I'm calling just to verify that this really is such and such office and we really do need this information. And we need it, we actually need it today because we're running the reports and we have to get this folder up or this report up to, our secretary by tomorrow morning. So it is critical that you get us this information. They make it sound like something is an emergency. You have to do it yesterday, that it's imperative that you do it, and that you are a critical part of this team. Okay, and everybody wants to try to help. So the person ended up sending all of the information. It was the taxpayer information for an entire town with taxes, names, phone numbers, contact information, bank accounts, credit unions, bank accounts, yeah. All went through and went straight to the hackers. I'm not saying anything that wasn't publicly announced, okay? I'm not talking out of school here. No pun intended there. But this was, it was in the paper, all right? But this was like a year or so ago. But this is what hackers do. Be careful at work when you're talking to people on the phone. Make sure you can verify who they are. And if you can't, do not answer their questions, okay? So be very, very careful. All right, accountability for risk management. This is, in our field, we have what are called communities of interest, okay? These are people who are somehow involved in your companies. So for you guys, a community of interest would be your customers. It would be your stakeholder, any of your stakeholders, your board of trustees or whoever you have, the employees, other banking institutions that you may work with. Those are your communities of interest, all right? And all of those communities of interest are responsible for managing risk, all right? Now, each area has its own sort of niche of what it's responsible for. The information security people, if you look halfway down on this slide, information security, these understand threats and attacks, and they are usually in a leadership role in the IT department, okay? So it would be your chief information security officers or any of those people. Then your IT department, they're the ones who actually build out your security systems, okay? They have your network security, they put up your firewalls, they make sure your password requirements are in place. They watch all of the ins and outs of your data, make sure there's no unusual spikes, things like that. That's what your IT department does. Now, the last one is management and users. And while the other two are extremely critical and are extremely necessary, your management and your users are your most valuable. In that, like I said, they are the first ones who are going to see when something happens. When I worked for the state, one of the things we used to say, if we were trying to figure out where a network connected to and the maps weren't quite up to date, we'd say, well, unplug it and see who yells. And we really would. Okay, we would unplug the network, and within, 15 minutes at the most, we'd start getting emails or phone calls. Why is my system down? What's going on? I can't get to X, Y, or Z files. There's a problem. And we go, oh, that's where that connects to. Okay. And then we would put it back online, and we would be able to complete our maps. Okay. Because these people are the best people to tell you when there's a problem. All right. Early detection and response. Now, one of the key things, and this is with any organization, I don't care what it is. I don't know what you guys have for security awareness and training programs, but they are absolutely critical to any company. You have to have some kind of security awareness and training program for your users, your employees. It'd be nice even if every once in a while you could push out a little reminder to your customers saying, this organization will not send you an email asking you for information. So don't ever click on a link from us. We will not call you and ask you for the following. Don't answer those questions. Just things that, your customers may not be aware of. But for your employees, you absolutely should have a security awareness and training program in place. There should be a big push at least once a year, but you need to keep this in front of your employees all the time. Security isn't a once a year kind of thing. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I don't know if you knew that, but it is. And there are a number of programs that go on nationwide. And if you are interested in knowing about any of that, a lot of the stuff's free. And it's very, very good. And I am more than happy to share some contacts I have with you if you're interested in trying to put together some sort of a program for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. But aside from that, you need to have information put out there all the time. Our Chief Information Security Officer at Norwich works with a company that sends out fake emails, and they try to get us to click on the links. And it will keep a record of how many clicks come back on that email. And not only that, even better, and George loves this because he will tap on people who he wants to sort of embarrass, and it will send back who clicked. So like one time I did, but honestly, in my defense, I would admit if I clicked on it by mistake. But honestly, I really thought that it was a hacker email. And I wanted the link because I wanted to get the malware that was sitting behind it. Okay, I wanted to use it in one of my classes. But it was him. So it kind of, but he was like, I saw you clicked on that link. I can't believe you did that. I'm like, I did it on purpose. But there are a number of different things that can be put out there just to keep people aware, okay, and keep them on their toes. And he has noticed that over the past couple of years of doing this, that the click rates have dropped dramatically. It also should be part of your onboarding for new employees. There should be at least a half an hour training of what to do and what not to do, okay? And again, if you just see something that doesn't look right, a process doesn't look like it should, you see a problem with something, speak up, say something. It's like, it's the least you can do as a user. It's like, it should be part of your job, okay? And actually people should be rewarded for finding things like that. It doesn't have to be, something big and huge, but, maybe a gift card to a restaurant or something for the person who comes up with the most, a list of the most viable vulnerabilities that they present in a month or something. Make things fun, but yet keep people aware, keep them on their toes. All right, defense against the dark arts. also known as hacking. Again, if you take nothing away from this talk, do not click on the links. All right, companies spend thousands, sometimes millions of dollars on security, firewalls, intrusion detection, intrusion protection systems, all kinds of systems. You have one person click on a link that allows the hacker in, it's all gone. It's for nothing, okay? Now, we have seen numbers of hacks or heard about them over the last few years. One of the hacks that happened was to a cybersecurity company, a company that does security. A person within their company clicked on the link, and this was actually, I was still working for the state, and it was a company that provides all of the cybersecurity tokens for the states, the entire country. You may have heard of it, of the hack, and a person within that company clicked on the links, and the hackers got the algorithms to the tokens. So for 2 days, the entire nation was without security until the company got the tokens, new tokens distributed. The company was very, very good. They fessed up immediately as to what happened, but it put the entire country at risk, okay? That's an extreme hack, all right? But it happened. And this is a company that they live and breathe security. So, you know, just because, you know, you clicked on a link doesn't mean, you know, anything bad against you. You just need to pay attention. Hackers are good, okay? Now, like I just said, clicking on a compromised link, you can undermine everything. Now, here's a couple of things. If you're not expecting a link to be in an email, don't click on it. I don't care if it came from your boss. It doesn't matter, because chances are it didn't come from your boss, okay? You can't, this is like one of those things that's really hard to wrap around your head, but you can't believe much of what you see, okay? You have to verify everything. So if your boss sent you or someone you think is your boss sends you an email and says, I need you to, you know, go to this site and do something, and you're not expecting to get that from your boss, email in a separate email. Don't do reply. Go to a separate email. Create a new email and email your boss and say, did you send me a link? And chances are, no, they didn't. That means that they have been hacked. Somebody has their credentials. So now you have to follow up with that too. But don't click on the links. You know, like I said, I hammer my students with not clicking on the links, and then I turn around and I send them a link. But, you know, I make it clear to them in various ways that it really is me. Hi, I really am sending, and I'll say something that went on, and I tell them ahead of time. I will say something that happened in class that only I would know, and you will know. You have to have been in class to know this. So I make it very clear ahead of time what the rules are. It's sort of like the safe word. So it's sort of the same thing. It's like to let them know that it truly is me, and it is okay to click on the link. Because I don't want to get, you know, 50 emails saying, did you send a link? So I have like a safe word kind of thing that I use with them, okay? So that they know I am the one that did it. So you can do that in work too. That's another option, okay? Some weirdo, wacko word that nobody's going to use other than, you know, from hearing it. All right, enter the URLs yourself. Don't copy and paste them. Don't copy and paste links, okay? The URL, if you don't know, is a website. It's the web address. Make sure, and I'm going to show you some web addresses, and you'll understand why I'm telling you to type them in yourself, okay? Don't just click on them, all right? And just because the site looks like the company site, it doesn't mean it is, okay? Again, if you are the one who goes to the site yourself, chances are you're on the site that you want to be on. All right, this is I picked a few banking sites since this is for credit unions. This is, they usually include links for spoofed websites, bank websites, that will take you to some place that the hacker has set up for themselves. All right, so again, not clicking on the links. And they usually ask you to divulge information, financial or personal information. They are very, very good at making the sites look official. Also be careful of the time of year. IRS doesn't send out web stuff. They don't send out emails. But yet, I have gotten a number of emails from the IRS. Some telling me that I have a refund that I didn't claim. I wish. Some saying that if I don't get in touch with them and pay them X amount of money, they're going to take my house and my firstborn child and my dog and everything else. That's just to scare you, to get you to click on the links, okay? They are not going to do any of that. They don't send out that kind of stuff. So be careful, okay? Pop-ups, pop-up windows, don't click on them, all right? They are malware looking for a place to open. Don't do that. Now, here's a couple. Bank of America is one of the most hacked banks around, and that's just a fact. I'm not making it up. So there are a couple of things. This is an online banking alert, the one on the left. And the link that's here looks official. It is not. It is going to a hacker, okay? Again, don't click on any links that you find in here. If you have a question, if you have, if I belong to VSECO, if I have a question about something with my account there, I either will go into my own accounts and communicate with them with my secured passwords and me initiating things, or I will call them, okay? I don't click on anything on any sites, okay? Don't do that. And then on the other side, it's telling you this is to comply with verification. They want you to verify who you are. Well, don't banks always want you to verify who you are? Well, of course they do. So you're going to follow these instructions exactly as they tell you. You click on the download button. You open up the information. You enter the information that they want, and then you log into your accounts. All nice and clean, isn't it? You just gave the hacker everything they want to get into your bank accounts, okay? Don't do this kind of stuff. If you have a question, email your bank yourself or call them and say, are you doing this? Like I got I got an email one time from my bank. Well, it wasn't from my bank, but it looked like it was, and they were saying that they were updating their systems. They update the systems all the time, I know this, but they don't send me an email telling me to do things, okay? So watch out for stuff like that. And if you are at home and you see stuff coming out from your credit union, make sure you report that to somebody. Don't just go, oh, I guess we got hacked. You don't know that somebody knows that already, okay? You are one of the users. You are on the front line. You have eyes and ears. Make sure you report it. If somebody already knows, great. If they don't, better, okay? And then this is one for Amazon. And I told you, watch the URLs, the websites. Now, everything about this looks good. It's HTTPS. The S means it's a secured site. You should be safe. You should be able to enter all kinds of information into this area. It's a secured site. Except, look at Amazon. AMAZONN? No, that's not the way you spell Amazon. Okay? That is a spoofed URL. All right? That's going straight to wherever the hacker's sitting. And all of that information is going there. Be very, very careful. And then this is just, I was using Yahoo because they don't really exist anymore, so I could sort of pick on them and not feel bad. But these are showing you that things are in the wrong place. Like the backslash, there should be a backslash after the .com, and there isn't one. Incorrect company names. They used a number 1 instead of an L for PayPal. Yeah, it's a number 1, not an L. You have to be careful with stuff like that. Also, HTTPS is usually followed by double backslashes. This one isn't. Okay. Look at, I know it takes time, and most of us are, busy, we're in a hurry, and we don't always pay attention. Try to slow down and look at the links, look at the sites, look at where you're going, okay? And be careful. And then, what to do. George said it, and I'm going to say it. It's not if you get hacked, it's when you get hacked. That is the sad truth. So a hacker only has to be right once. You have to be correct 100% of the time, okay? Now, ways that you can try to defend yourself. The first one is cybersecurity awareness. Make sure that all of your companies, your locations are doing cybersecurity awareness training. If they are not, you really need to talk to somebody about implementing that. There are a number of free services available. Like I said, I am more than happy to help you with that if you would like to. Know about, what can you do, where can you go, things like that. And there are also a number of online security training programs. The online ones, it's like we have them, we have to do them every year, and they're a little cheesy, but they are what they are, okay? But they remind you of stuff. They tell you, they sort of trip your memory and go, oh yeah, right, I need to be more careful about that, okay? But you need to go through those. Using strong password combinations. George mentioned passwords before. Passwords are a dual-edged sword, because if you make it a really complex, strong password, now you can't remember it. So now you're going to write it down. What are you going to do with that? Oh, I'm going to stick it on my monitor so I can find it. Okay, or I'm going to put it under my keyboard. I feel your pain. I have passwords for so many things, it's ridiculous. But here's something you can do that's not difficult. You can get one of those thumb drives I was telling you about. You can get them already encrypted, which means you have to have a password in order to be able to open it. You have to remember one password. Okay, I think you can do that, okay? You put it in and it will save your passwords for you. And you remember the one password, you can open up the encrypted thumb drive. So even if you drop it, nobody can do anything with it. It's useless, okay? Because it's encrypted. The other thing you can have are password generators, one-time password generators. Those are extremely safe because they generate the password once. It's the only time it happens. It's the only time it exists, okay? So those are options. If you have high security areas in your banks and your credit unions, and you need to, it's critically important that those passwords remain safe. Those are two ways to do it that you aren't going to compromise your passwords, okay? But use strong passwords. Invest in cybersecurity tools. And this is for at home too. This is, people say, well, security, what's in it for me? This is in it for you. Make sure you have antivirus software. There's all kinds of it, and it's not expensive. A lot of it's free, okay? Make sure you have a firewall and spam guards. Put up your spam guards on your laptops or your home computers, whatever, and make sure you keep things updated. So when you get that annoying little thing about you need to update your your virusware, your scans and stuff, you can set them. You can go into your settings and set them to run at 2 a.m. when you're sleeping, and it will update all of that stuff for you when you're not online. It's not going to interrupt your working or you're playing, Plants vs. Zombies or, solitaire. You'll be fine. You can continue your game. It won't update until the middle of the night when you're not online. Have a strong backup policy. This is for your company. What do they do? How frequently do they back up? Is it enough? For a credit union, I would think you would have to back up at minimum every hour. Your system should be set up. I mean, I'm assuming you back up more frequently than that. But, That's your IT department's job. But if you want to know, you should be able to ask them. And then invest in IT security services. All right, again, that's what I'm talking about with some of the cybersecurity awareness programs. There are a number of services that are out there that will watch your perimeter. Your IT people will take care of that stuff, but it is out there. There are things out there that you can do, okay? And I do believe that that brings me to the end of my talk. Now, these are links, yes, but you can click on them, I promise, okay? The Verizon data breach report, now I'm a total geek, and I find this report just fascinating. It's real easy to read. It's written in very fun and silly sort of terminology. I mean, it's not tech speak, so it's very easy to read, and it has a ton of just interesting information. The ultimate list of cybersecurity statistics for last year. Again, I just find that stuff interesting, like what's going on. 52 key cybersecurity tips. You know, if you guys have a way of pushing stuff out to employees, you can maybe do a tip a week. 52, 52 tips. Hey, you know, take advantage of it. You don't even have to come up with them. And then the website's safe. And this goes a little bit beyond what I told you about. So that's the end of my talk, and I hope it was informative. And
It was. Yes, I really appreciated it, Kris. There is a lot of information that you gave us, and I know I'm definitely going to be looking at some of these links in here and the 52 key cybersecurity tips. I think that will be kind of cool. But no, this was great, and I will be sending out the PowerPoint to the credit unions with the video so that they have it, and I will, so then they can get this information.
If anybody has any questions that I didn't answer for them, my email for Norwich is up under speaker, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. And thank you again. It was very nice. I liked it.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that.
All righty. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.